So, you think you want to carry a firearm for personal defense. We think that's a good idea, but you and I have a talk about this. Having a firearm available for personal defense on an everyday basis will be a significant lifestyle change for most of us. We have the right to carry that firearm. It's a constitutional right. It's in our Second Amendment, and it's a right that almost all American citizens have. But exercising that right, if you make the choice to own a gun for personal defense, you should pay attention to this. First, you must develop the skills necessary to handle your chosen firearm safely and with good accuracy. Next, you must know and understand the laws and the protocols demanded for personal defense. You must know and understand the law because ignorance of the law will never be an excuse at your trial. So you must conduct yourself in a manner that a reasonably prudent person would do under similar circumstances, because that will be the keynote that the court will take a look at you and what you did. A violent confrontation will come with very little warning. It's going to come suddenly, called sudden violence. And that sudden violence, then, you will have no time to prepare. You will only do and say the things you practice to do and say beforehand. That's where your training comes in. In the midst of your training, you will not dream up new stuff and handle yourself better than you did before. You will only succumb to your training. So training can be very important. So you will only be able to do those things that you've trained to do. So please train to become an effective gun owner and a safe gun handler. Next, train to become an effective communicator. Once you win the gunfight, the next step is a possible court fight. And so in the court fight, we must prepare for that as well as we did for the gunfight. And so since 1963, over 60 years ago, the federal government reminded us of one of our rights. And if you've ever seen the movies, right, you watch cop stuff, then you know what that is. You have the right to remain silent. Wow, if the federal government gave you the right to remain silent, why on earth would you give up that right? I can't think of a reason at all. Next, anything you say and do will be used against you in a court of law. Wow. So we have the right to remain silent because anything we say and do could be used against us in a court of law. So don't spot the other team any points. Train wisely. You will need to train for the gunfight, and then you should equally train for the court fight, because that's what this is all about, and that's what the class is all about coming up on Saturday. This is beyond your CCW and your understanding of the laws of the prudent use of deadly force. You must know and understand these rules, and that's what we'll cover in great detail on Saturday. Let's talk more about the differences, maybe. That's what we'll do on Saturday. We'll talk about some of the differences. What are the differences between what could be considered justifiable homicide? That's how we'd like it to be. And how can that quickly turn into a murder trial? Wow, it can happen quickly and easily. And so learn what that's all about for sure. Let's talk about the differences between truth of stand your ground laws. You'd like to know the truth about stand your ground laws because it's not what the internet tells you. There are a lot of internet myths, and we'll spend a good part of Saturday talking about the myths in the internet. We call that the University of YouTube. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's the facts. And so it's one thing to sit and listen to all this stuff, but this is not a lecture. You become involved. Rory Miller will join me again, and we will do in-person scenarios in the classroom. You may be involved. You may be a witness. You may be one of the victims. You may be one of the perpetrators. Who knows? But you will learn by doing, and that's what this class is all about. The most important part of all of our classes and the most popular has been the scenarios. So please join us on Saturday, and you'll come away with a lot more confidence about carrying and handling a gun for personal defense.